Iowa has two economies. It has the metropolitan economy, which has done very, very well over the course of the recovery, over the course of this decade, growing at or even faster than the national average in parts. And we have a non-metropolitan, or you can call it a rural economy, but non-metropolitan economy, and it has not recovered from the recession. It is much slower growing, and as a consequence of that slower growth, we also have outmigration that's continued. We've had outmigration for decades, but it has become more of an issue in recent years because that outmigration is decidedly, it's young adults who are skilled and they're moving to either metropolitan economies where there's a higher job demand, or they're leaving the state of Iowa. So we have two things going on. We have that dynamic, that dualism in terms of the state's economy, and then there are going to be consequences for that. The remaining population out in rural areas is going to become incrementally older, and incrementally older populations tend to vote and be more conservative. Now, the state's overall economy is interesting. It grew relatively well coming out of the recession, but then it stalled. And it's stalled, and it's a worrisome stall. Right now, Iowa's economy is basically, over the course of this decade, it was the sixth worst growing economy in the United States. That's not a good place to be. I don't know that a lot of Iowans know that, but that's exactly what's happened. We went through something like a little mini recession that started around January of 2015, and it continued on quite a while until 2018. Very, very flat, and then we started to grow again. Part of that was a downturn in the manufacturing sector. Some of that downturn in the manufacturing sector was because we have agricultural stress. The rural areas, their economies are dominated by ag interests, ag activities, and ag incomes have collapsed since 2013, 14, 15. They continue to go down. They continue to go down to the present, and that has reduced their demand for manufactured goods. But that's not all of it. That's one part of it. The state's economy just stopped growing for a couple of years before it started growing again. The rural economy, many people think Iowa is just primarily farming. There are more people working in manufacturing by a long shot in rural economies than in farming, than in agriculture. And so the manufacturing sector and how it performs is something that really matters to the state of Iowa. Fortunately, we've recovered most of our manufacturing jobs, but it's somewhat shifted. It's shifted more towards food processing, which tend to pay less, and away from durable goods manufacturing, which tends to pay more. As we sort out the end of the decade, we have fewer manufacturing jobs in rural areas, more manufacturing jobs by a small amount in urban areas, and overall, the fastest rates of growth of jobs in the state of Iowa that align with growth at the national level are all going on in the metropolitan areas.